DC Public Library. It is such a wonderful website, and I think we're so lucky to have this library in our city, because just the amount of resources, free resources that are available to us through the public library is truly amazing. And it is like, whenever I'm doing any sort of research, I go right to the public library to look at their collection, to look at the online databases that they offer. The thing with the DC Public Library, if you do not have one already, you do need a library card to access certain online materials, resources, databases, etc. And physical library cards are distributed at the DCPL locations. I think a couple are reopening right now. I don't know to what extent their library card services are available right now. So if you can't get a physical library card, you are able to get a digital one, a temporary digital card, again, for free. This is all for free. So I have a link here for the application. It's very simple. All you have to do is fill out your name, your email address. It'll ask for your home address, things of that nature, and then it'll give you that temporary card. But when you're ready to, I will say this, it's very important. When you get your temporary card, you get that there's a number that is associated with all of this, like you need a number to log in, essentially. Once you switch over to a permanent physical library card, once you are able to, not everything that you save through that temporary account will pass over to the permanent account. So if you are looking at specific newspapers, or you're bookmarking stuff, or you're saving lists of things, just make sure before those 90 days are up and before you switch over to the permanent card, that you make a note of that somewhere, whether you're saving it on your computer, or you have kind of like a list of URLs that you were looking at through the website, or resources or whatever. Just make sure you have that somewhere safe, because there's no guarantee that it will be able to go over to your permanent account. But again, this is free, and I'll show you in a moment just the amount of resources that are available to you through the DC Public Library. Okay. So the public library, when they were open, specifically Washingtoniana, the Washingtoniana location in Van Ness, they were doing their own research workshops. And in December, I believe, we had such an awesome time. Some of our members went to the Historic House research workshop, and it was wonderful. We learned about a lot of the stuff I'm going to be showing you tonight, and we got to try out and look at the microfilm, look at some maps and things like that. So if you ever have a chance to attend one in the future, highly recommend it. But as far as it goes online, they do have a historic house research guide. Now, I will say, if you go to any of these websites, just check and see if they have a research guide. 9 times out of 10 they will, whether it's the public library or the historical society. They have just a really great resources page that outlines, here at the top. So we have Anacostia, Cleveland Park Libraries, and items can be returned at Mount Pleasant and a couple of other places. So just keep an eye out. Your library might open. You might be able to go get that library card. But again, if you can't, you can get a digital one. So the research guides are super helpful. As you can see here, the DC Public Library one, they outline maps that you can use, that I'll be showing you a couple tonight. Places to get building permits, permits to build, they highlight history quests, people, like how, if you're trying to find out who had the original deed to your home, the Recorder of Deeds has a database that I will also be showing you tonight of how to find out that information, city directories. So, if you're going to these websites after the workshop, just double check, look at the research guides, because they're good instructions, and they also kind of tell you how you can do research within like the repository you're looking at. So if you're looking at DC Public Library, like this research guide kind of help you figure that out, of how to do research with them. It's also a good resources page. So I highly recommend looking through the guide if you would like. So the DC Public Library, I'm going to highlight some good newspapers and other resources that we use through them for your online research. So there are a lot of great newspaper databases through the DC Public Library, and for these you will need that card number that I had mentioned. So we have the Evening Star, the Washington Post, Newsbank, which is a much larger database, and there's an international database. There's a one specifically for the United States. I think there's another one in various languages. So it's kind of a grander one. And the Washington Times, which is a more contemporary newspaper. So yeah, through the public library, you have access to historic newspapers and more contemporary ones. So I can show you the databases page real quick. This is the page. Yes. Okay. So what you'll do is, like, when you get to the home page of the DC Public Library, you go to Research, and you go down to Databases, and it will take you here. And you can filter them by subject if you'd like, filtered by alphabet. But just so you can see the amount of resources you have: journals, academic journals, Newsbank, like I said, accessible archives, which has a lot of African American newspapers, and other resources for DC, especially when it comes to the 19th century, which is wonderful. As we go down, there's just like a lot. There's Baltimore Sun, different other kind of academic resources, music, things like that. But if you scroll all the way down, or you do the filter at the top of the page, we will go down to the newspaper databases that I was just talking about. So yeah, the Evening Star. See if we can get into there. I might have to log in. We'll find out. But again, newspapers are really wonderful. I think especially if you're doing local history, they just really give you that great window into, what people are talking about. What if a historic site is in the news, like what's happening with that building. Sometimes there's ads for stuff that's on sale, like this house is on sale, or this person just bought this house, or like, these houses were just built in this neighborhood. So it gives you a really good window into, just the history of DC and the growth of DC. So this is the Evening Star webpage. I will kind of go into it a little bit more later, like how to search when I'm doing my my little example site. But as you can see here, you search for the topic that you're interested in, and you can browse issues by date. So if you know your house was built a certain day or a certain year, you can look specifically within that year. And as you can see here, it ends in 1981, and it goes all the way back to 1852, which is a pretty good amount of time to be looking into. Yeah, so you can see what I was looking at. Fort Reno again, and I want to see stuff about Fort Reno in 1900. Make sure when you're searching, especially if you're whether you're searching like an address or a topic, put them in quotations. Because otherwise, if you're looking up like 235 2nd Street Northeast and you don't put them in quotations, it could just give you tons of different things that may not be relevant to you. It might just highlight street in general. So now you have like just newspapers from all over about all different sites. So make sure when you're trying to make it as specific as possible, you put it in quotations. And then you can even do like like education. And then it will pinpoint those specific terms, and it will really just make your search so much more easier and more like coherent when you get into it. So I will show you specifically later like how you can look at a specific site, but I just wanted to show you the database page on the DC Public Library site, and just all of the amazing resources that you can look through online when you have your library card. There's also Dig DC. Now, Dig DC is another database for a bunch of digitized resources. I believe these are all digitized from the Washingtoniana collection and a couple of other sources. But Dig DC, you do not need a library card to look through this database. And when you get to kind of the homepage, you can see all of the different collections that they have. DC Punk Archive, Washington Star Photo Collection, DC Public Library Archives. There's a ton of different things. Postcard collection, maps, real estate books. Again, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Political posters and stereo view photograph collection, which is a pretty cool collection. There's also oral histories on here. Sometimes they have available to you actual recordings of the oral histories or transcriptions. So if you're doing research that requires you to look at oral histories, like look at Dig DC, they're here. Definitely check that out. So yeah, and as you see, all of these different resources and photos, they're in pretty wonderful quality, a lot of them. You can see Department of Agriculture building, and then if you scroll down, it'll show you what collection it's in, the collection name, you know, who is the creator, kind of gives you all of that information about the photograph. And I will say, if you're doing a search and you're looking at a specific building, look at subject down here, because sometimes it will help you kind of get to other resources that are that you're more interested in, and it's more relevant to your search. So like stereographs, it'll show you like all of these different stereograph photos. So definitely check out Dig DC. Again, don't need a library card for it. So if you are waiting on your library to be open for you to get your library card, you can at least look at Dig DC for some stuff. Okay. So now, the Historical Society of Washington, D.C. They also do workshops, research workshops. I don't know if they have any virtual ones planned, but we worked with them towards the beginning of the year, and we did a house history workshop with them. It was really great. So I also recommend and encourage you, if you see an opportunity to do any sort of research workshop with them, that you also check them out. They have a research guide, like I had mentioned. There's no sort of like requirement for looking through them. It's not like the library where you need a library card. You can kind of just go to the online catalog. This is the homepage for the online catalog. And you can kind of see what you can look at, archives, manuscripts, business records, photographs, printed materials, artwork. These are kind of like the more general collections over here. There's also like oral histories again. The Washington History Magazine is also here for any, you know, articles that you might be looking for. But you can do a keyword search, and you can look at, you know, anything that you're trying to find out more about. So like Capitol Hill, maybe. You can do. Here's something to note. If you do not see an image for any reason, that means it is not digitized. So what you can do is you can do items with images only, and then you hit search. And it will hopefully, well, I guess not Capitol Hill, but it will hopefully just show you the items that just have the photographs. Whether you know, so you can look at these online, obviously, but I will say, like, if you're planning to go to the Washington Historical Society for your own research, you know, just still make a note of like the call number and everything if you're going to be doing any research with them. But for as of now, you can see, you know, certain things that you can access online. So it's also a great place to look for historic photos or maps or documents. Again, all for free. Don't need a library card, don't need an account, and you can look at these photographs.